very dark eyes. Maggie was Cuban, so everything on her was dark except her extra white teeth. "Corn Flakes are weird," Fiona told her. "That's what makes us unique. Close your eyes." They all did, clutching each other's hands under the table. Just before she shut hers, Sophie saw the corn pops clinging to each other too, but she was pretty sure they weren't praying. In fact, Sophie wondered if the corn pops ever prayed. What they did do, as far as Sophie could tell, was think they were better than everybody else because they had more money than rock stars and they could get their way no matter what. No matter what included cheating, lying, gossiping, and teasing people about anything they thought was too weird. And since the Corn Pops considered everything the Corn Flakes did way too weird, Sophie and Maggie and Kitty and Fiona were their favorite targets. "At least we used to be," Sophie thought now, "until they got in so much trouble for doing bad stuff and blaming it on us." It was a little bit of a comfort that the Corn Pops wouldn't dare do anything else to the Corn Flakes, at least not anything they could possibly get caught at. But Sophie knew the Pops had ways of getting away with things that could escape even the really smart teachers. She sure hoped Miss Blythe knew a pop from a flake and wouldn't try to mix them together. "It's pretty easy to see the differences," Sophie thought. The Corn Pops only wanted to be popular, which was why they were Pops, and they would do anything to stay the boss of everybody else in the 6th grade at Great Marsh Elementary, which was where the corn part came from. Sometimes they were so corny in the stuff they did. Sophie unsquinted her eyes open a little so she could peek at her fellow flakes. Fiona with her rich brown bob that fell over one of her gray eyes. Maggie, so serious and stocky and practical. And Kitty, with her curly ponytail and her little nose that looked like it was made of china. "Cornflakes are corny too," Sophie thought. "That's what everyone says just because we like to make up stories and make films out of them, and we don't care what anybody else thinks about that." Once, back when Kitty was still a pop, the CPs had said Sophie and Fiona were a couple of Flakes. It was so perfect it had to be their name. After that, the girls who were all into sports were the Wheaties, and most of the boys were Fruit Loops. The best part was that all the group names were a secret among the cornflakes. "If everyone is awake, I'll finish explaining the project," Miss Blythe said. Sophie's brown eyes sprang open, even though she hadn't actually gotten to praying at all. She pulled her elf-like body up as tall as she could in her chair. It wouldn't be good to be caught daydreaming, or Daddy would take her video camera away from her, and Corn Flakes Productions would be no more. That was the deal with her father. Stay out of trouble and make nothing less than a B in school, and she could keep the camera. Mess up, and it was all history. "I want at least 4 people to a group," Miss Blythe said, "and I feel very good about letting you choose your own." The rest was drowned out by shrieks that bounced off the walls and back again. Even as Sophie was hugging Fiona and hoping Kitty wasn't going to spill off her chair into a puddle of relief, she saw that the Corn Pops were every bit as excited. BJ, the pudgy-faced one with the swingy blonde hair, was whistling through her teeth. Willoughby, of course, was letting out one of her poodle laughs that could set a person's fillings on edge. And Ann Stewart was blowing her nose. Ann Stewart had sinus issues. She was always blowing her nose. Above it all was the corn pop queen bee, Julia Cummings, tossing her thick, curly auburn hair back from her face and looking as if she had expected nothing else. After all, she always got what she wanted. Even as Sophie watched her, Julia turned to meet her eyes. Julia's went into slits, but she wore a smile that looked as if she'd selected it from a rack of grins and stuck it onto her face. Sophie had learned that every one of Julia's smiles had a message to send. This one clearly